Hello there, everyone. Welcome to the first Tapcaf Transmissions episode of 2023. We are going to be talking about the Bad Batch, but the we first is me, Corey, and also my co-host, as usual, Mr. Justin EckhartsLadder. How are you doing this year, Justin?
I'm good. It's been what, 4 weeks maybe since our last episode. It was pre-Christmas, so
Yeah, we did the Andor finale, I think, and then we did the Lost City of the Jedi.
mm-hmm.
And I think we had a lot to think about after that episode. Like, there were a lot
Yeah,
of strong themes to go over, a lot of big canon shattering events. So it's been rough emotionally. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it.
yeah. You have to kind of recontextualize not just what you feel about Star Wars, but a lot in your head, and that takes time.
Yeah, it's I think we're finally back on now, ready to go. We've got the Bad Batch to talk about. We've got maybe some other news. Is that what we're going to talk about first, or any other holiday shenanigans we want to go into?
Yeah, let's do a brief holiday recap. We want to talk about yours.
No,
What did you get up to? No, okay,
I
nothing.
didn't really do anything. Me
Yeah.
and Dana were here. Stayed. I saw my family earlier in the month, and
Mhm.
not really much else happened.
Nothing for New Year's either. Just kind of
Yeah, I went
chillaxed.
to a friend's house for New Year's and
Okay.
stayed out until like 4 a.m., which I haven't done in a long
Wow.
time. So
Did you go home or did you stay there? Did you go out? What did
we
you
went
do?
home, but I was waiting for the last bus. Turned out the last bus went earlier than I thought, so we had to Uber back.
Okay.
Crazy,
Yeah.
crazy stories is when you get to your 30s for New Year's. How about you, though?
I don't think I did anything on New Year's. Oh no, I went to the hockey game. So we had the World Juniors here, which if you're not Canadian, you probably don't know. Or I guess that's not true, but
The
it's like the
World
big
Juniors.
it's like the big under 20 hockey tournament. Uh it's like it's international hockey under 20. Really exciting because you get to see like a bunch of future NHL stars. Uh It was last here 20 years ago, 2003. And I actually went to a few games then, or maybe just one or two. My dad went to all of them, the bastard. But like in that game, that was Ovechkin was there when he was still, a young whippersnapper. Marc Andre Fleury, lots of players you'd know. Anyway, uh, it was really fun. I got to as many games as I could. There were options to buy entire packages. My dad, it was like a lotto system though. The the first tickets went to the Halifax Moosehead season ticket holders, which I am not, and then it was a lotto for everyone else. So we got into the lotto, but it was awful seats right near the back. You can't even really see; it's obstructed view, and it was like I think $1,400 each. So we said no.
That's
Um,
ridiculous.
yeah, it's crazy. But to be fair, that's 1,400 for you got to go to the whole tournament. So that's 1,400 for like over 20 games.
Yeah, but you can do
Um,
that, or you can buy two Steam Decks on which to watch the
that's true.
games, and then you could just keep the Steam Deck. So
That's true. So anyway, I ended up buying tickets for. I went to the semifinal between Canada and America. Um, I went to the New Year's Eve game, which is why I thought of this. That was Canada versus Sweden, and then I went to a few more, and it was great. I hope they come back soon.
well, that I'm sure if people want to see more coverage of that, they can go check the backlog on Eck,
Hmm.
your hockey channel.
Yeah, I threw in lots of recorded video and stuff, so that was fun.
And now you can write off any ticket prices.
Absolutely, I'm going to do that.
Well, any Star Wars news we should talk about before getting into the Bad Batch itself?
Yeah, there was something. We know that the next trailer for The Mandalorian Season 3 will be coming out on January 16th. So that's this next Monday. Actually, I guess the day that I probably will upload this, that night, Monday Night Football, during the wild card game. It'll be a trailer for Mando Season 3.
That's pretty sick.
Mhm.
We've also got news about the Ubisoft Star Wars game, is that it still exists, even though like 3 other Ubisoft games have been canceled this week. So that's exciting.
Who knows? Oh yeah, I'm not interested till I see something.
We've,
I've stopped even like um, putting brain space away to try to remember what's coming out or not. So
Yeah, other than Jedi Survivor, because we know that's
Hmm.
coming in a month
Yep. Yep.
or a month and a half, but still, or two
Yeah. So
months.
I'm
Yeah,
I'm
either way.
taking I'm taking a trip in. It was like we really wanted to go away for March break, so we're going to Toronto. And I was like, I realized afterwards like how bad timing that is. But thankfully, I'm only going to be missing one episode of Mando season 3, and I'm going to get back, I think, right before Jedi Survivor drops. So it's kind of like the perfect time to take a
Yeah,
vacation. Yeah.
definitely better than later.
Hmm.
But anything else? I don't think there's really been anything else since last time.
Yeah,
There's
there's
been
been
a
a
few
lot of.
weeks, but
Yeah, we don't really talk about leaks, but there's been a lot of kind of credible stuff about Ahsoka coming out. I think it's all sounds really good. Again, I won't get into any specifics, but have you been reading them? Like, I know you sometimes do, sometimes you don't.
I've been I've seen the gist of it, but I haven't done any like deep diving into it. So I know
Hmm.
like very surface level details about the leaks.
Right.
Some of them trustworthy, some of them there was at least one or two leaks that were going around that are from a guy who is like very much not trustworthy.
Oh
But
yeah. Yeah.
we'll see. I
Hmm.
try not to get into too much that's like actually spoilery for it.
Hmm. Yeah, understandable. With that being said, we got 3 episodes of The Bad Batch. There was, you guys probably remember, a 2 episode season premiere. I thought those episodes were okay, but kind of boring. And then there was episode 3, which for me was one of the best episodes of the show so far,
Yeah.
actually, and it has me pretty excited about this season too.
But before we get into that, so both of us have had at least the opportunity to watch the first 14 episodes of the season.
Hmm.
I've watched up to episode 5, I think.
Okay.
We won't be talking about any spoilers beyond what's been shown, but I'm trying to watch it as we go through. So I'll watch it like the night before the episode actually comes out. But
Hmm.
have you done any forward watching?
No, not really. No, I was thinking about it like when I got it, um, but I knew I wasn't going to have enough time to watch the entire series, and I didn't really think like there was any point in doing a review on like the first,
Yeah.
10 episodes or whatever. So I was like, if I'm gonna get confused anyway, let's just take it. And plus, I enjoy having something to look forward to on a weekly basis anyway. So
Yeah,
yeah.
like I watched the first 3 to 5 episodes, and then the first 2 episodes came out, and I was trying to write videos about just the first 2 episodes, and I started forgetting when certain things happen. So I was like, okay, I need to not do this because I'm gonna mess something up. So yeah, so we're not gonna be talking about anything from beyond the episodes that have been seen. We're not gonna try to come up with any big brain fan theories to make ourselves look smart. Anything that we speculate on, we legitimately do not know the answer. You can trust us.
Yeah. Like when I say Crosshair is obviously not going to end the season evil, it's not because I've watched ahead. It's just because it
What's
seems
your
obvious.
definition of not gonna end? Okay, we're definitely gonna talk about that later, but as
You're right. He's
going
not going to
into
end. He's
the
not going to be working for the Empire anymore. He's still
okay,
going to be a weird fascist civilian killer. But
going into this season, where did you have Bad Batch in your pantheon of animated Star Wars shows?
it's such a tough question because it's like I think in terms of season one, like I've said this before, it's much better season one than Rebels. Probably a little bit, or sorry, than Clone Wars, which had a pretty boring season one in my opinion. Probably below Rebels, and I think overall that might be kind of where it stands for me. Like obviously, if I were to cut a lot of the BS out of the Clone Wars, um, I think that would put that show higher. But I mean, you could say that for the Bad Batch as well, because like the Bad Batch ended with a great few episodes with the Camino arc. Uh, so yeah, for me, I don't like it as much as Rebels, but it's right up there with Clone Wars for me.
Yeah, yeah. I think I do like it more than the Clone Wars overall. Because like I've been working on an animated campaign map video going over like everywhere the Bad Batch has been, which I'll be releasing this weekend. But I was going back through getting some of the clips from those episodes. I was like, oh, I want to rewatch this now. So I think that's a good sign for the show. And I actually liked the first two episodes of this season
Okay.
pretty well. Though I do think the third episode has been the best so far. We'll probably want to focus a bit more on the third since
Mhm.
we we missed our chance to be super topical with the first two. But you thought you weren't big on him?
Um, I wouldn't really say that I disliked them. I just thought they were kind of like they felt more like mid-season episodes, where I didn't feel until the very end like anything
Yeah.
really interesting was being. I guess that's fine. Like I do like how it started with them in the middle of kind of one big mission, and you can kind of imagine the hijinks they've been up to in between seasons. Still don't know exactly how long has passed. Um, but otherwise, it was just felt like a middle of the road episode to me. Nothing really stood out. Um, whereas for the last one, I thought it was quite standout. I guess would be how I would describe it. So yeah, I didn't dislike it, but it just felt kind of middle of the road for me.
Yeah, I can definitely see them feeling a bit more like their mid-season episodes rather than the premiere because it didn't really set up too much of the major plots. Like there was a bit with knowing that Rampart is trying to cover up the fact that the Bad Batch are still alive, which seems like a horrible approach to take.
Mm-hmm.
Like everyone knows that's going to come out, and I think the interesting thing with that is going to be like he knows they're alive. Crosshair
Mm-hmm.
knows they're alive. He's going to know that Crosshair knows they're alive. Is that going
Mm-hmm.
to turn into him trying to off Crosshair like he did with Wilco? Or is that going to turn into him trying to work with Crosshair to do stuff, and Crosshair is not going to be the kind of guy that goes for that either way? But that I think I'm looking forward to see how that plays out.
Yeah. So just going off the episode titles, not having watched them, I know the last two episodes are called, and we can't even watch the episode. I believe the last two episodes are called like the Mountain or the Fortress or something. I'm guessing Crosshair probably finds his way to Mount Tantus,
Mhm.
um, because they see him as the way to find. Because it all is going like they don't actually care about the clones that much other than Omega. Like, yeah, they are renegade clones. That's a bit of a hassle. But I still think that the main thing they're interested in is actually Omega.
Yeah.
Um, Rampart's obviously a bit concerned because I guess he lied to Moff Tarkin, so he wants to obviously cover his tracks up. So I guess from that perspective, he cares about all of them. But I think like in a bigger picture thing, with the Mount Tantus introduced in the last season, I think that's going to be kind of the main driver for,
Yeah.
and I do think that's kind of where he's going to end up. And then the last two episodes will probably show them trying to rescue him.
Yeah, I don't know. Crosshair is. Should we just go into the big Crosshair discussion now, or do we want
Yeah,
to
sure.
hold off on that? Okay, so I don't know that Crosshair can rejoin the Bad Batch. Like I think it's probably and kind of disappointingly. My assumption is that it's going to be something where he dies to save the rest of the squad. He's like that'll be his version of leaving the Empire, and I'm not a fan of how Star Wars always does redemptive sacrifice. We've talked about this a lot with like every other Star Wars thing that's ever come out. But I don't see a world where Crosshair leaves the Empire and joins the Bad
Okay.
Batch on their escapades. You
Mhm.
disagree with that?
Yeah, I disagree in that I don't think that it's necessarily more likely on like a balance of probabilities, but I'm not going to say that I think it's impossible. Like I think it's possible it happens, I guess, is
I
what
don't
I'm
think
saying.
it's impossible, but he just sounds so creepy.
Yeah, I guess like if you look at season 1, and I was rewatching a few episodes the other day as well, like he does kind of um go through the same thing that a lot of the Imperials do, where it's like it does seem like he believes he's bringing security whatever else to the galaxy. Now obviously he's not, um but I do wonder whether there's going to be something that just fundamentally snaps this season. I think we've seen him get wore down a bit by bit. Even from episode 1, when he was a part of the Bad Batch, he did always have that mean streak to him. Like
Yeah.
he's ready to start blasting Jedi. Like Order 6, he's like hanging up the phone and like readying his blaster.
Yeah. Like the way I've seen Crosshair, especially with this last episode, I know he talks about order and all that stuff, but I don't think that's really what matters to him. Like, he has no conception of what the world is like outside of the army.
Yeah, that's fair.
He was brainwashed into believing whatever they need to believe, but like he's fundamentally just there because he doesn't fit in anywhere, and that's kind of something the Bad Batch all had in common. So it's almost like he is trying as hard as he can to hold on to this one thing that he thinks he fits into, even when you see like all the other clones still don't want anything else to do with him. So he's like trying to grasp onto that little bit of familiarity while all the people around him that he did fit in with or does fit in with keep saying, no, this actually kind of fucking sucks. We're going. But Crosshair can't make that leap because he's more on the good soldiers follow orders part, like the soldiers part, and that's where he wants to stay. But like the Bad Batch leaves, and he could kind of rationalize that a little bit. But now after so long without anyone to really relate to, he has Cody for this episode, and he kind of gets that glimpse of like, this is how my life used to be. I have this camaraderie again, someone who like sees me as a valuable person beyond just, I'm going to shoot someone right now. And then Cody comes to the exact same conclusion that the rest of the Bad Batch did and leaves the exact same way. And I think that's...
Yeah, I agree.
The important part.
He wants to find, some purpose and feel useful. That's something that he says in season 1 a lot too. He's like, we're going to be the center of this.
Yeah.
But I do think that also is tied to kind of what I mentioned, because we get that discussion at the end of the episode where Cody's like, we're not battle droids. Like, we do what we do to make things better.
Yeah.
So like, I do think that you can't quite like separate the two. Like, yeah, he does want a purpose for himself, but that also does mean being more than just an automaton. So I think that's going to be something he has to deal with this season. And I think it's pretty clear we're going to see clone troopers be replaced.
Yeah.
I had an argument with somebody on Reddit about this the other day where the question was, when does the Empire stop using clone troopers? And it's pretty clear. I asked this to the head writer of Jedi Fallen Order. I got to meet him and do an interview with him when I was in LA, and he said there's no clones in this game because the Empire's completely phased out clones by this point.
Yeah.
And that seems to be the answer. So we know in a few years there's going to be no clones left, and not just like we're not making new clones, which is obvious. Something is going to happen, and like it's been clear from last season that like the inhibitor chips aren't working. Now we know Cody, he's gone.
We know the Defense Recruitment or whatever it's called, Defense. I think it's something Recruitment Act. It might be Defense Recruitment Act, but that the clones were talking about in the lunchroom. Right.
Yeah. So it's going to be, and we see like it's like it's not an accident. Like at the end of the episode when after the clone squad has done all the hard work, it's the new TK troopers, like the stormtroopers who are coming in to secure the city. They're basically just like expanding their clones that they have now, and then kind of replacing them with stormtroopers, which is interesting.
Yeah, and it's not that I was saying that like Crosshair is just trying to be an automaton. It's just like he's trying to find where his role is, and like the thing that like the dramatic irony of it all is that he's doing this thinking like the Empire is where I'm going to fit in, even though everything we see around is that the Empire is trying to get rid of you. And like after the stuff that happened on Camino and his conversation with Rampart, it wasn't like, oh, great job on getting back to us. Rampart was like, why the fuck are you here now? Like, why didn't you just go somewhere else? They don't even want him.
Yeah, and it reminded me a lot of that Star Wars Rebels episode with Zeb, and is that Through Imperial Eyes? Is that the name of it?
With Zeb and Callus?
Yeah, where or no, that's not through Imperial. Yeah, the one with Zeb and Callus where they crash on the ice planet.
And they're in the cavern.
Yeah, and then it kind of ends with obviously Zeb goes back to the Ghost Crew and Callus goes back to the Empire, and the Empire is just like they don't even give a fuck that he's back. They're
Yeah.
just like, oh yeah, you're here again. I think there was kind of a deliberate callback too, where he's like, there's like the scene where he's like resting, and then the alarm goes off, and he gets his
Yeah.
next order, and it's all very cold. Both of them kind of did that.
And he can never finish a fucking meal without him getting called into the goddamn office.
Must be infuriating. um, I do think that there is like I do think that there could be an element of like actual humanity to Crosshair that kind of leads to his switching, only because of what we see in the end of season 2, where like he doesn't turn the Bad Batch in, and you can tell that he's conflicted in that like the kind of bonds he has. Like, part of that could be what you mentioned about just wanting to fit in, but yeah, I'm interested to see kind of what that leads to.
Well, like I could see like within universe with all the motivations of the characters, a world where like Crosshair doesn't stick with the Empire. But I think part of that also comes down to what is the Bad Batch going to do. I just think from like a production side, I don't think they're setting up Crosshair like just the way that Star Wars always ends up working, where someone's that far in, they don't like the way it always works is then they die. Like Kylo, Vader, almost everyone else. But like Crosshair is not really motivated by ideals. Like it seems like he's just trying too hard to tread water, to like even just to tread water, to be able to think about like what he actually wants to do in the world. So if he can justify having whatever position he can and trying to fit in wherever he can, then that's all he really has.
I think it's a good point. The only kind of counter example to that, I would say, is the one I just mentioned, Callus, where he's pretty fully in for the first bit, and he does end up making it out.
Mm-hmm. He does kick that fucking stormtrooper into the chasm in the first episode, so
yeah, and he's also like, before we get the backstory, we also basically believe that he's the one largely behind genociding the Lasat, because he's got the stun stick or whatever it is.
Yeah.
I really like Rebels. I've been rewatching it. It's definitely one. I think Rebels is up there with in terms of my favorite Star Wars shows. It's so good. But
I did a poll like yesterday on my short form lore channel, and I was like, which of the 4 animated shows of this style is your favorite? And like Clone Wars gets 85% plus whenever I see polls like that. And I don't know. I feel like Rebels and now Bad Batch deserve at least a bit more of that share. Nothing against the Clone Wars, but
the Clone Wars is being helped so much by nostalgia, where like so many people grew up with the Clone Wars
cartoons are being helped by nostalgia, I think.
And even for me, I've got a lot of nostalgia for that era. Not necessarily as much for the Clone Wars, because I didn't really watch it before I did YouTube very much. Like, I was familiar with it. Yeah. I had watched, a lot of the major episodes, but like, I thought it was pretty lame. And then when I started doing YouTube, I was like, I better sit down and watch all this. And my opinion became a bit more nuanced. But I have a lot of nostalgia for like just that era of everything was Clone Wars based. Like, I remember when I got my Xbox, I don't know if you got one, but the first game that I got was that Clone Wars video game where you drive the tank and it's like the Dark Reaper project. There was that. It felt like everything was like they went fully in on that era. And I do miss that. And I think that kind of drives a lot of it. But yeah.
Yeah. I always think of the Clone Wars as having come out during my Star Wars downtime, but like it came out in 2008 initially, so it was pretty close to when I would have been into everything. I just don't know why it was never on my radar at the time. So like I ended up watching it probably around the same time you did ultimately. But
Yeah, like for me, I didn't even see the like I was a huge Star Wars fan before I did YouTube, obviously. Um, Probably like in junior high, high school was my my biggest the most invested I was rather.
Yeah.
Um, but I didn't even see the movie, the Clone Wars movie. It didn't interest me at all. I definitely wrote it off because it was not only animation but ugly animation. Um,
I think I watched the movie and then I watched one or two episodes of the show
mm,
and I just
nah,
was out.
yeah.
But
Yeah, it was just like it also kind of the age I was. So if it came out in 2008, I would have been 16. It's kind of that period where, you don't want to be seen as like, at least for me, I was like, I don't want to be, seen as watching kiddie things. Like I'm going to, you know, skip that and move on. But yeah, it would have been fun to watch it. Rebels, on the other hand, I picked up watching live around season 3, probably because of Thrawn. And one of my kind of really early memories of Rebels is I can't remember, this might be season 4. I remember watching the Maul episode, where Maul is killed by Kenobi, and I think I was doing YouTube at the point and getting really excited. I think I did like a breakdown video on it, and I kind of miss that era as well, because the Rebels watch parties were really fun back in the day, especially in season 4. It was like fucking anything can happen.
yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe that'll come back with the Mandalorian season 3.
Yeah, and that's exciting because like we've talked about this before. I know I've said this before. It's like there's never really. It's been a long time since there's been a Thrawn story without an ending to it. So, or
Yeah.
without an ending we know anyway.
Yeah, I'm not looking forward to the discourse around Thrawn being back. I think that's gonna be very exhausting. Of like, oh well, this isn't like Timothy Zahn's Thrawn, because then pick which one of the 7 Timothy Zahn Thrawns you think it's not like.
Yeah, I've been trying my best to like I did that video that I think you watched, where I've been doing my best to try to like prepare people. Like, listen,
Yeah,
it's not going to be you know it's not going to be the Thrawn from the Thrawn Ascendancy trilogy, in my opinion. Now, maybe
no,
Dave Filoni read this. I wouldn't be surprised if he hadn't, and he'd just been kind of briefed on it. Um, but like, he's going to be a villain. And I think that's probably the way it should be. And now
yep.
he can be a villain with kind of a bit more nuance, but yeah.
Yeah, like he's not a villain with nuance in the stuff like Outbound Flight and after that. He's just good guy that then tries to reach around towards the later part of the EU and retcon that into actually having been a good thing he was doing, or he wasn't that bad. But it's gonna be frustrating, I think,
Mhm.
to hear everything.
What I'm just my I think biggest concern is how are they going to make the conflict feel important, knowing that like it doesn't
Can't be a
really
full
play
war.
in right. That's kind of what I'm worried about. Um, and that's why like I'm open to the idea of Thrawn not dying.
Yeah,
I think that could be good actually.
yeah.
Like if they are really going to plan things out, and I don't need Star Wars to be like Marvel, but if they're going to plan things out and set up the next big story arc, that could be cool. So yeah, I'm interested. I like it seems like a lot of what they're doing is coming together in a cool way. um I feel like some people have soured on Mando season 2 a little bit, and I get that, but I still think that show did so many cool things, like the fact that they brought Dark Troopers in. It's just little things like that. As a Star Wars fan, like not everything has to be Andor for me, where it's like, oh, like I feel this like political science treatise in my bones. It's like, no, like I like these cool robots that I shot
But I
15
also
years
feel like
ago.
the weakness that a lot of people feel like Mando season 2 had is that there was too much of the look at this cool thing it brought in,
Mm-hmm.
where some
Totally.
of the episodes just turned into here's an episode about look at this cool thing we brought in, and Like some of the episodes was we're bringing in this cool thing, and there's another story going on, so that's better. But for like even some of the Ahsoka stuff, it felt too
Mhm.
based around what was brought in. Not quite as
Yeah.
bad as Book of Boba Fett turning into Mandalorian for 2 episodes, but it was kind of getting there for some of it.
Yeah.
But
That's
speaking
fair.
of things that got brought in for a few episodes, how are you feeling about Echo and Tech this season compared to the last season?
I really like how they've been used. I haven't noticed that much of it, to be honest. I think Echo is getting more of the kind of different usage. Like I think he's being used more compared to a season one versus Tech. I feel like Tech got decent usage in season one. I think they're really fun characters though, especially Echo, because Echo is. And I'd like to see them explore this. That he's he is an outsider because he's not one of the divergent clones like the rest of them are.
Yeah.
He went through that the separatist uh, body horror situation. um, so yeah, what about you?
Like, it felt like in season one they weren't sure how to use Echo and Tech for different things.
Mm-hmm.
And like I was starting to watch like how many lines are either of them going to get per episode towards the latter half of season one. And like they did nothing for a lot of it. And I thought so far they've both gotten a lot more, especially Tech, actually.
Okay, fair enough.
Uh, like I feel like the show knows what to do with each one separately a bit better.
Mm-hmm.
Without just turning Tech into the annoying caricature he was for the first few minutes
Yeah,
of his appearance in the Clone Wars.
yeah.
But there's even
Um,
like a joke that Echo says, and I think it was in the
when his
episodes that already
legs break.
happened.
Oh,
No,
Echo.
when Hunter and Echo are together, I think that was this has happened, right? I'm not spoiling anything.
I'm not
And
sure.
well, even if it is, it's not an
Yeah,
important thing.
who
And then
cares?
like Hunter asks Echo to do something, he's like, "Well, usually that's Tech's job," which I kind of took it as a bit of a
Mm-hmm.
joke about them
They're kind of
feeling a little bit
interchangeable.
interchangeable in some places and trying to move away
Hmm.
from that. But there is another episode coming up that is like very or very Tech focused at least.
Mm-hmm.
So
I'm actually and so I will say I didn't notice as much because I didn't watch it kind of with that perspective. So I'll definitely take your word on it. But I will say I personally don't mind that they fell a bit to the wayside in season one. I think that's kind of a natural consequence of having a decently sized cast of main characters. I think they were kind of smart to focus on the relationship between both Hunter and Omega and
yeah,
Rekka.
I agree
Um,
with that in general. But
mhm.
I think Echo
When you
had
get
2
16
lines in the
episodes,
finale
yeah,
in an ensemble cast. I mean, like Deep
yeah.
Bradley Baker's getting paid the same either way because no matter who's speaking, he's good.
Can you imagine
But
if he had different? Yeah, that'd be funny.
he gets paid a different rate for Echo lines
Yeah,
versus Hunter
yeah. They should have had him try to do Omega too.
lines.
Um,
Do you think we'll get like a live action Omega at some point? Did you have something else to say on the last thing before I change to that?
um, no, I'm just trying to think of that. Do we think we'll get a live action Omega?
Yeah,
Probably not.
I saw like a Florence Pugh fan
Yeah, no,
cast, but
that's not
like
gonna work.
that's no, don't. She's not white. Like
Yeah,
you find a Maori actress, but the
yeah.
like this is where I think she could easily come in. Is she's friends with Hera,
Hmm.
so like I don't think the Bad Batch is gonna get super heavily involved in the rebellion or anything. I feel like they're gonna be
Hmm.
more independent.
Hmm.
Uh, but like I feel like the connection between Omega and Hera probably stayed in place, and I
I
don't
forgot
think
about
they're
that
gonna
episode. Yeah,
kill. I don't think they're gonna kill Omega. So
yeah, because we had Chopper in season one of the Bad Batch. I forgot about that. Um, so I forget Omega. She's not accelerated aging, right? Or she
no,
does she? Okay, yeah.
they call out that like Tech explains that the her genetic makeup is the same as or she's unmodified in the same way that Boba is.
So is she trans or is she or not? Do
I
we
don't
know?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Something else went on there, but I don't think she's meant to be
Okay.
trans.
Okay. Could be interesting, but yeah, I can't imagine how the fan base would react to that. I'm sure the discourse would be fun. Although I think there's already been a trans
There
clone.
has
Yeah.
sister.
Yeah. So get over it. But I guess I'm making a straw man in my head. But anyway,
I saw some of the reactions to it, and you're not.
yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I do think I find all of the cloning stuff is really interesting to me. And I'm excited because it feels like it is going to tie in an interesting way with the Mandalorian. So Omega showing up, I think, is a possibility. Like this to me is where it's starting to feel like, okay, they've actually planned these TV shows together now. Because the Mount Tanta stuff, like whether it's just they work that in afterwards because they're like, okay, make these guys look like Dr. Pershing and it's a cool little backstory for him, or there's going to be a more direct tie-in. I don't know, but
Well, I think Brad Rao did talk about how like that is going to factor in, and that was a consideration.
mhm.
Like that it wasn't just kind of there as a throwaway. It was like the connections are intentional and in some way built up. And I was kind of wondering with Cody whether there was any consideration between the Bad Batch and Kenobi, because one of the big things that was cut from Kenobi was that Cody was going to show up and stalk Obi-Wan, but
Right. Obviously, that doesn't work now.
Yeah.
Unless he gets mind wiped again. Or it's Cody with a K.
Well,
Awesome.
it's already not happened, so the intent they had for him wouldn't work in a Kenobi season 2 unless Obi-Wan gets really lax again. But I don't think that would happen even in...
I don't think we're getting a Kenobi season 2.
I don't think we are either, but it seems like everyone who was involved in that just really enjoyed themselves. And that seems like it's enough to push some stuff forward. Like, I think Ewan McGregor wants to be Obi-Wan again sometime. And if you have that as Lucasfilm, I feel like someone is going to try to come up with some reason to do that. And I don't blame them for that.
Okay, so I heard something a long time ago that I think was true, and it's from a person who I know is tangentially kind of connected to all the shows and the movies and stuff. He or she told me that, I may have told the story on the podcast before, that when Lucasfilm was negotiating with Hayden Christensen, they signed him for a 3-project deal. And the reason why he doesn't appear in The Rise of Skywalker is because they wanted to save his appearances for something else. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. But I guess it doesn't matter.
Missing one, so at that point,
I guess my thought is, I think your point is right, where like they're very lucky to have these legacy actors who are still young and still look very young, especially when you add a little movie magic.
Yeah.
It does feel like it'd be a waste not to see them. I do think we're definitely going to get maybe not Obi-Wan, but I think we're almost certainly going to get Anakin flashbacks in Ahsoka. There's been some kind of leaks about that, which I'm not going to discuss. But even kind of ignoring that, I think we might see flashbacks to training, or because they need to explain to the very casual audience who this person is. So because we got a bit of that in The Mandalorian, but I mean, in The Mandalorian, you're fine just knowing, okay, she's a Jedi. But like, if this whole show is going to be about her, let's make it work.
Yeah, I could see that. But I mean, maybe with you and what you do is if they're going to be doing Thrawn trilogy stuff, go with the original plan for Sabayoth and have a new Jorah Sabayoth be an actual mad clone of Obi-Wan. There you go. When cloning is such a big thing, why not?
That could be kind of sick, actually.
Fuck me up with clones.
They were what's the guy's name from Back to the Future? Christopher
Lloyd?
Yeah, Christopher Lloyd, I think, is going to be in Ahsoka.
Yeah.
People have been saying that he could be that could be Joris. I said Nick Cage should be Joris. And he should like clearly not want to do it, but they should make him. I think that'd be so sick.
The best thing Star Wars can do is force Nicolas Cage to play a role against his will.
Yeah, because he'll just do a great. I just, I honestly think Nick Cage could be a good Joris Sabayoth.
Luke, take my mask off.
Just like, oh, when I watch him in the August, has been watching these movies called The Croods. Have you ever heard of them?
Yeah,
They're like
I
the
watched
caveman
that with
movies.
yeah,
And yeah, Nick Cage is the dad, and it's just like
yeah.
that's Joris right there. That's our man.
It's Nick Cage and is Ryan Reynolds guy?
I have no idea. I wasn't really paying attention. I'm not
It
gonna
was
lie.
I was watching it with my nephews and my sister, and it was like bothering me the whole time. I was like, who the fuck are these people? I recognize the voices. And then I figured out it was Nicolas Cage for the dad. I thought it was Ryan Reynolds for the other one, but I don't remember anymore because this was weeks ago and I didn't care that much. But
Yeah, August has been really expanding his. So I took him to see Avatar, which kind of questionable because he's 4. There was one part where he was scared, and I was fully ready to walk out because for one, it was a 3-hour movie. I kind of just at first wanted to see what it looked like, um, but yeah, he ended up staying for the whole fucking movie. I know I said this in the group chat, but
yeah.
he stayed for the whole movie. You know what? I'm very proud of myself. I've got a very weak bladder. I made it through the whole movie as well. Uh, I pissed like a racehorse afterwards, and I was like, "Buddy, do you need to go use the bathroom?" He's like, "Nah, dog, I'm good." He didn't need to pee afterwards, so
Yeah.
yeah, kids got a legendary bladder on him. But that's a good movie. You should see that. I know we kind of talked about it.
I'm not paying for it is the thing. Like I'm not interested enough in it to pay money to see it in theaters. And
Did you ever see the first one?
I saw the first one
But not in
at my
theaters.
friend's place, so not in
I feel like we
theaters.
talked about this on
Yeah.
podcast, didn't we? Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah. What did you think about the governor moment? It seemed like she was willing to die. Like she knew she was dead, and she's like, "Okay, Cody, watch this. I'm about to get
It reminded
blasted."
me. You ever see Independence Day?
Yeah.
You know when they go into the base and like the alien has captured like one of the guys and is like got the tentacle wrapped around his throat. It's like no peace, no peace. Kind of reminded me of that.
I forgot that Independence Day had the actual aliens in it.
Oh yeah, because remember Will Smith crashes the fighter, and then he's like, "I'll rip you up by your dreadlocks." The alien's got like tendrils coming from his head, and he's like dragging the alien corpse across the ground by his dreadlocks. It's fucking hilarious. But yeah, so one thing that I really liked about this episode, I thought was really clever and definitely done on purpose, is it felt like a dark inversion of like a Clone Wars episode.
Yeah.
Where like the boys are dropped off into a tough situation. It's a small group of clones. There's one of them who's named, who does lots of heroic stuff, who if it was in the Clone Wars definitely get a really bizarre fandom, like Waxer and Boyle, for example. And through some crazy, they even have them fighting battle droids, which I don't think is an accident. And through crazy heroics, and old Clone Wars techniques like the disruptor thing, they end up getting to the end. But then it takes a very dark turn. And we kind of see that right from the minute where Cody, he's like reassuring 2 civilians. He's like, "We're here to help you." And like in the Clone Wars, okay, maybe you believe that and maybe it's true. Now you know it's not true.
Yeah.
And where the Clone Wars would have ended with them probably negotiating a settlement and avoiding bloodshed, not this time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Obi-Wan would never say, "I never agreed to that," and then fucking tell Rex to blast someone if Cody tried to do something.
The negotiator, yeah, advanced negotiation strategies.
Shoot them or something.
Yeah. But yeah, I like that. I like the ending. It was pretty obvious. I posted on Twitter how I thought the fucking little soundbite there was like the dun dun dun, like when it moved over to Cody. I thought that was so fucking hilarious. I actually laughed out loud when that happened, and like not because it was that bad. Just there's something that just really made me laugh about it.
I didn't have that reaction. It didn't register to me as funny when I was watching it, but
I'm just built different.
I did go back and watch the part of the episode when they're with Trace and Rafa, Martez sisters, I think it is.
Mm-hmm.
And Uh, they're like, "Is there an Echo in here?" And then Echo comes up to them, like, "Yes." Unironically laugh every time.
That's some like airplane humor.
Yeah, it's just so out of nowhere and so different from anything else in the show. And they play it completely straight too.
Yeah.
I love it.
I think my favorite joke from Airplane, I forget the lineup, but I'm trying to remember the exact line. He says something about how like it's altogether different than flying a plane, and then the next time the two people talk, they say that I'm just gonna ruin the joke. Let's move on. Go watch
Yeah.
that movie again.
So I guess the flip side of Echo and Tech getting a bit more focus is that for the first 2 episodes or 3 episodes, well, 2 episodes, Hunter and Wrecker have taken a bit more of a backseat. Omega as well. And episode 3, they didn't show up at all, which is a brave choice. But it is leaving us 3 episodes in with not really the clearest idea of where they're going this season or what they're going to be doing. So that's going to be interesting to see. But I did like
Yeah.
the talking about like the CIS stuff and
Yep.
kind of showing that like more of just the Republican CIS were both kind of fucked up. But I think there's been a bit too much of the CIS rehabilitation and Dooku rehabilitation. I know we've seen that like Dooku dropped the fucking garage door on Yaddle last time we saw him, which isn't like the coolest thing to do.
No,
But
that's
still,
based as fuck.
like there was still so much of playing up like, oh, political idealist, even though he's aligned with all the super exploitative mega corporations to start this war. Like, no, he was not being very epic even to his own planet, and now the Empire's coming in and being super not very epic to the planet.
Yeah, I like that, and I do hope and think. Well, no, I don't think. As like another I hope we get more kind of single like Empire only episodes because I thought that was really cool. We even did we start on Coruscant? Was he on Coruscant at the beginning? I think
Crosshair, like the facility.
Yeah, were they on Coruscant at the beginning? I can't remember. Anyway, I hope we get more Empire only episodes, or I mean, just lots of perspective because it is fun.
Yeah, like I think we're probably getting at least one more Crosshair like super focused episode.
Oh yeah. Oh, I found the quote from Airplane. He goes, so it's when the pilot dies or whatever, and they're asking this guy if he can fly the plane, and he goes, "I flew single-engine fighters in the Air Force, but this plane has 4 engines. It's an entirely different kind of flying altogether." Other than the two people that he's talking to say together, it's an entirely different kind of flying. Just it's like a very stupid joke, but very funny. Because he says all together as if like he wants them to. It's like his command to say it. Yeah. Anyway, great stuff. I'm trying to think of what else that shot by Crosshair has got to be one of the most impressive feats in Star Wars history. The double mirror bank shot, 3 droids. See ya.
He always does that though. Like he fucking took out all of the Elite Squad people with one shot at the end of season 1.
But off 2 mirrors, I don't even think that's I don't know. I'm gonna need Neil deGrasse Tyson to fucking check the physics on that for me.
Please don't.
He just puts out a tweet. Hate to ruin it for you. No, you don't. You love ruining it.
You're not doing this to be fun. You're doing it to be a pedantic asshole.
For Twitter likes.
Yeah, that's the difference. When people want to do like weird nitpicky shit just because it's fun to tear stuff apart and not to like tear it apart, but just to say like, oh, this is what would actually happen. Perfectly fine. That's totally cool. But if you're doing it because like, oh, actually in real life people can't fly. It's like, shut the fuck up. No one thought they could.
You want something cool I got?
Go for it.
It was like $500.
Oh no. Did you get a cameo from Neil deGrasse Tyson?
No, I got this thing. It's like the same technology. I was looking at it because I got my notes on it. It's like the same technology as like kind of a Kindle screen. It's like a pen, so it's like it's a notebook basically, but it's digital. It's very cool, and it can like sync files between your PC and your in your tablet and stuff. And I've been taking all my notes because for one, when I'm watching something on my laptop or my computer, I don't want to have to type because I want to just so I just got my thing open, take notes. I'm ruining my notes right now. But same when I'm watching hockey.
It's very cool.
Yeah, and it's got all my things saved in here, and it feels very nice to write on as well. Feels like paper. I don't know why I had to mention that. I was looking at it and I had a smile on my face because I was just thinking how much I enjoy the product.
All right, we got our first sponsor for TapCaf.
And I'm going. I got press credentials to the Mooseheads, my local CHL team. I'm gonna go. Everyone's gonna have a laptop except me. I'm gonna be writing on that, practicing my handwriting.
Perfect.
Yeah.
What's the resolution like on it? Like, isn't it kind of difficult to?
Oh no, not at all. Like, I don't really know what the resolution is. But like, it's pretty insane. Like, you can fully zoom in. Like, you can see it like stores everything as like pages too, and you can still kind of like read it from.
Nice.
That's what it looks like up close, but. I also have very big writing.
I used to have one of the pens where you could record and write, and it would like if you go over what you were writing while you were recording, it would play that part and vice versa.
Oh yeah.
Like I had that in university for a few classes, but
this one can also it can translate your writing into actual like text as well, and you can like search it. Yeah, you can like search your handwriting. It was pretty cool because I like taking notes during the hockey game, and I was doing when I write notes, I use a lot of slash or not slashes, what are they called? Just like arrows, just like I like to write with notes basically, and it took all that, converted it. It's very cool. But yeah, it's kind of like a Kindle screen. It's got like a 2-week long battery life, which is cool. Like, I've only charged it once.
My writing is just so awful that'd be my big downfall with that. So.
Yeah, my writing. I took notes by hand in law school, so my note writing used to be very good, and it's kind of shitty again. So I'm trying to get it back to where it should be.
I never brought a laptop into class, or I did, but only if I wanted to watch Survivor during my psych lectures. But I was always terrible. Like my handwriting is atrocious.
Mm-hmm.
My friend,
do you write or do you print? Like when you say handwriting, do you write or do you print?
It's like a mix.
Your shorthand,
an illegible mix.
Yeah.
And so one of my best friends now, my last roommate, when I started hanging out with him, because I had a mutual friend who was friends with my current friend group, and then I kind of joined through her. And so I was sitting with my roommate Nick, or my future roommate Nick, and we did an exam, and we both got called to to the professor's office. Like the professor told us to come see him after the class, and I was like, "It's just the two of us. Did they think we copied off each other or something?"
Right.
So did this guy fuck me over? And he was thinking the same thing. But it just turned out that both of us were the only two in the class with handwriting bad enough that they couldn't actually read what we wrote. So we had to come in and read our exam to the TA to properly grade it. That's kind of embarrassing.
Yeah, that's not great. Yeah. I had some weird ones. I used to TA stats and like a business class.
Yeah.
And it was a lot. I would say like half or 3/4 of my class was exchange students from China, because they all knew each other, so they like to have classes together, which is cool because I went on a date with one of them after the class was done. But they all had really bad handwriting, so I was like I can't read this. So there's lots of okay, thankfully most of this test is multiple choice, but I need to speak to you and you after class, because I just can't read this. So I'm sure you're not the only person who has to experience that.
That was the only time it ever happened to me in university, but it was that one time where the guy sitting next to me also had it, and It was a very concerning week until the meeting there.
Yeah, that would be. In law school, we weren't allowed to. You had to get special permission to submit your exams on paper.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you had to do them. Everyone had to do them on your computer. They would, and it was kind of weird because they wouldn't even provide you with a computer. They would just take you to you just go to your room, and everyone would just do it on their laptop. There was like that one program that would lock you out of the rest of your computer. It's almost certainly like some bullshit spyware shit. But like everyone had like everyone would have like their Macs and like their thin MacBook Pros, and like I had my fucking chunky $300 HP computer just on its last breath, just like huffing and puffing. It's like trying to make it through. Like everyone around me's like GPA is like 0.5% lower because my computer's so goddamn distracting.
Yeah, like I could never. Part of why I could never bring my laptop into class was because I had like I still have it, the Dell gaming computer, not Alienware, but like their other gaming brand thing, the G5, I think it's called.
Yeah.
And so, because I didn't have a desktop at that point, I had a desktop going into university, and then some fucking rat guy that was helping me move in dropped it. So I got a gaming laptop to replace it so I could do schoolwork and game. But then it's just so fucking loud that I never felt comfortable bringing it anywhere. But oh well.
I kind of miss university.
It was good.
It was
times. Fun. All right.
It's extremely stressful, but I miss it.
You know what else we miss is
talk about Star
email
Wars?
Questions.
Oh, okay.
So unless you have anything else you want to talk about for the first 3 episodes?
Nope.
All right. So there's a few NJO related questions that we got that I'm going to kind of leave out. We did get questions from John and Carmen about potential future topics. For one of them, it was a question about books. We'll definitely be getting to, or the goal at least is to get to as many books as possible. So eventually, Yoda Dark Rendezvous would be on the list. So
yeah, that one maybe soon.
And
I want to read that one.
I have a fellow Chippewanian who emailed in.
Oh, nice.
Who I think also escaped. Yep. So both congratulations to you, John, and he mentioned Robot Chicken as a potential thing to talk about. We tried to watch that on stream, but I do think that could make a fun episode at some point. Maybe when there's not any TV actually running.
I just want to talk about the Mara Jade thing, which I think was Robot Chicken.
Yeah, that was Robot Chicken.
So funny.
Don't say that name to me.
Get out! Out! I was trying to think of... I was kind of wondering about like Hollywood productions which have Star Wars Expanded Universe references in them. Because obviously Star Wars references are really common, you know.
Yeah.
If there's like a teenager, he's probably gonna have a Star Wars poster in his room. But like, how common is it? Like, what are some famous examples of Star Wars Expanded Universe references? Whether it's just like a nerdy guy has a comic book or a poster or anything else. So if you know of any, please email that to tapcaftransmissions@gmail.com. That's TAPCAF transmissions@gmail.com. And let us know, because that's something that I've really been wondering about. I'm guessing like Big Bang Theory has to work.
I don't know. I think that's like... I don't think that actually has anyone that would have been...
Yeah, but I mean, just by like set dressing like a comic book store or like...
Yeah, I guess in the store. But I think... So my hot take here would be maybe that 90s show will have one.
Okay.
Because I could, like, Eric Foreman is definitely pulling out the Thrawn trilogy when that comes out.
I found one in a very, well, not unlikely place, really. The 40-Year-Old Virgin. Steve Carell collects action figures, and he's the 40-Year-Old Virgin, obviously.
Obviously.
Yeah. And which, listen, I've got action. Well, actually, I don't really have action figures. If you collect them, what do you do? No, I'm just joking.
I don't have any.
It's totally okay.
I have Legos, and that's it.
I've got my chopper over there. I think that probably counts as an action figure.
That's an action figure.
And I've got this Master Chief you gave me, which I just cut my balls with. I don't remember what it's for, but
I think that is what I sent it there for.
Yeah. But yeah, I think he he had a bunch of really funny action figures. I believe there was a Legends one because he's got like a Super Saiyan 4 Goku one, which I thought was hilarious. I'm pretty sure I saw a Star Wars Legends one in there. So yeah, if you know of any, obviously an explicit mention would be really cool, but even just, anything, let us know.
You can email those to tapcaftransmissions@gmail.com. That's TAPCAF transmissions@gmail.com. But we do have a couple more questions, actual questions, rather than discussing what we'll do in the future. So Joel, for the first question tonight, says, do you think season 2 will pick up on Mount Tantus cliffhanger and
Definitely.
have direct implications for the Mandoverse? What do you think you'll see, if so? And we did kind of talk about that as well. But I think, yeah, like some sort of infiltration and exfiltration is almost certainly in the cards.
Yeah. Just based on the titles of the final 2 episodes.
Yeah.
I can't remember. I'll look them up right now, actually, just because I mentioned them a couple times. Bad Batch episode or season 2 episode titles.
I feel like that might even get to a little bit more spoilery territory than people might be comfortable with.
Okay.
I mean, people can close the podcast.
Yeah, mute for the next 10 seconds. I'm going to tell you the names of the last 2 episodes and any other ones that I feel like might be relevant, okay? So you've got 20 seconds, okay? So episode 15 is called The Summit. Episode 16 is called Plan 99, which I don't think we know what that is. Episode 12, which I've heard people really hype up, is called The Outpost. And then, yeah, those are the kind of the 3 that jump out at me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I can't believe that just happened. Welcome back.
I can't believe there's an episode called Mount Tantus' Dirty Little Secret.
Mount Tantus' Dirty Little Taint.
Wow, that episode's called The Death of Qui-Gon? That's kind of weird.
Our next question, our final question for the day, comes from Christopher. This is an Andor-related one.
Nice.
Saying, with Luthen essentially being set up as the Kraken of canon who acted as the glue to hold the early rebellion together, that makes me think about Kraken's character in Legends, who is basically a squeaky clean M. Or squeaky clean M. Okay, I think that's a James Bond thing.
Yeah. M is learning of his missions.
Do you believe that Legends Kraken was as morally dubious as Luthen and made several dark CIA-type operations for the New Republic, or that Kraken was a good boy who made threat dossiers? Okay, so first off, Kraken's threat dossier is the biggest crime against humanity that's ever been committed. But I even in universe, Kraken is not really presented as a squeaky clean guy. Like, there's a lot of hints to him doing fucked up shit, and isn't he involved in Alpha Blue as well? Like I'm pretty sure genocide part of it.
Well, I mean, just isn't Alpha Blue isn't Alpha Blue the name for the entire secret intelligence? Like, they seem to operate pretty much outside of most oversight. So
yeah, it's heavily implied. I think Lando even explicitly says, "I have no desire to know what you're up to with some of this stuff." And I don't think he's ever really. He's more portrayed as mysterious than clean.
Oh yeah, I would definitely not describe him as clean. And I'm wondering if maybe the wording in that email was just a bit kind of off from what he meant. But yeah, definitely not clean.
He's definitely doing similar things to Luthen. It's not.
Oh yeah, for sure. Also, and this is the conversation where people pointed out he looks a lot like Luthen.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're gonna cast a young Kraken, you'd probably cast that would have been a good casting. Now, is that possible? Yes. I think it's very possible, but is it likely?
No.
I mean, no. But I don't think it'd be the worst thing ever.
No.
Yeah. Threat dossier, pretty special stuff.
Yeah. It
for
has
those
a
who
lot
don't
of
know,
terrible designs in it.
Take a second to look up Aaron Kraken, AIRENCRACKEN. He looks a lot like Luthen, and he's in the movies too. He's in Return of the Jedi.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure there's deleted scenes of him piloting the Falcon's gun during Endor.
Yeah,
it's kind of funny because he's like a general, I think.
Well, fucking
put all your generals in one ship.
Yeah, you get a general a generalship for doing whatever. Like, you can go and pick up groceries for Mon Mothma. Like, her fucking Instacart driver became a general.
To be fair as well, he's an intelligence general, so it's like you're at Endor already. Your job is done. You might as well fucking get out there with the boys and good luck.
Yeah. Literally all the Bothans died to find that information too, because there's none of them there. Yeah. We're in 2023 and we're still fucking Bothanless in this universe.
Unbelievably based.
Disgusting. But I think that's everything we wanted to talk about for today. What are we doing next week, Justin?
I don't know. What do you think?
Do we make the Dark Journey?
Is that the name of the next NJO book?
That is the next NJO book.
We could do that, or we could do Dark Rendezvous.
Hold on. Let's see. When does Battle Scars come out? That's what I'm partially interested in. If we can line things up so that we're alternating our way into Battle Scars, because I think we should talk about Battle Scars as soon as it's out.
March 7th.
So
we're still quite a bit away.
Yeah. Okay. So never mind. That's not relevant. I wasn't thinking we'd talk about it next week, but I wasn't sure if it was coming out in February. But
I'm just reading. I was just checking the reviews for the podcast, and this one still makes me laugh. I'm going to read it again. It's from Hot Picks Gamer Sucks. Number one incel bashing podcast on the HoloNet. Every week I listen, and every week I clench my sweaty fists in rage and beat my body pillow until I'm doubled over. My greasy chest heaving like an out of breath elephant. Yeah, it's pretty good, I guess. Just 10 out of 10.
All right.
We did
Dark
a couple
Journey
new ones as well.
Dark Journey's not long. It's 300 pages.
Okay.
But it's a depressing 300 pages.
Mm-hmm. How long is Dark Rendezvous?
Dark Rendezvous. I don't know. Yoda Dark Rendezvous.
Because if we're doing NJO, okay, if we're doing NJO, I feel like I'd like to do a couple. I just feel like it's been a while since we've done a full-length non-NJO novel, but I could be wrong about that.
We did a few as they were coming out, but let's see. Tapcaf tier list.
The last one may have been the courtship one, whatever the name of that book was.
So the last non-NJO book we did was Princess and the Scoundrel. So it was Princess and the Scoundrel, then The Edge of Victory, second book, and then Star by Star. Before that was Shadow of the Sith.
Let's do Dark Rendezvous then, if you're okay with that.
Yeah, we can do that.
Okay. I got a couple more reviews that I'd like to end the episode with, because the reviews mean a lot. We really appreciate it. We had Create Nick said, glaringly obvious both these hosts are deeply obsessed with Star Wars, provide a nice buffer for having to spend as much time in the universe as they do. Yeah, lucky you. EU gets equal space to canon as it should be. 7483991956 said best podcast. That's my phone number.
Read someone's phone. Yeah.
Is that a phone number length? Yeah, it is. That's concerning. Hey, that's just the username though. And it's also public. I just Googled Tapcat transmissions reviews to find these. And then Jack said, epic Star Tours. Dude, they made Star Tours into a movie. This is so epic. You guys need to listen to this podcast. Corey is a super cool guy and he makes video games or something. And I don't know that EckhartsLadder guy. He seems okay when he's not heavily criticizing my favorite character, Han Sojo. Also, I was going to rate it 1 star, but then Mr. Ladder broke into my house and told me not to. Anyway, 5 stars. Let's go.
Nice.
Yeah. So
thank you for the
really
reviews.
Appreciate those 5-star review, guys.
All right, I think that's going to do it for the episode. So hope you enjoyed this more disorganized than usual episode to kick off the year. Next week, we'll be talking about Yoda Dark Rendezvous. Week after that, we'll be doing 2 Bad Batch episodes. We'll be covering episodes 4 and 5. So that's generally going to be the plan as we go through the shows. We'll usually do book week, then show week. Sometimes we'll be doing show weeks individually if something else happens. Just those are much easier for us than reading the whole novel, depending on what the novels are. But we are going to be doing some Imperio Cart tonight on twitch.tv/Corey Loses, as well as youtube.com/ECKSTOO. That's going to be me and Eck, and of course, Charlie.
And Zach.
And Zach. Zach's going to be coming. That's going to be great. So our night is just beginning, but for those of you who will not be joining us on that part, always remember, keep your stick on the ice.
Eat ass.